What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Gimme presented by Bet365. Why the Gimme? You know why? Because it's good. He's Roberto Arguello. I'm Jason Sobel, coming to you live from Lake Nona Golf and Country Club, home of the LPGA season opening, Hilton Grand Vacations Tournament of Champions. As you can tell, it's just beautiful out here right now. There's a golf course over there. The sun was on me. Trust me, I'm there. I promise. And I'll give you a little pick from here later in the show, but we're going to be talking mostly about the PGA Tour's American Express coming up very shortly. We're going to break down our favorite outrights, props, matchups, first round leader bets, all the usual stuff we do here on the show. But first, the Gimme, as mentioned, presented by Bet365, the world's favorite sportsbook brand. Sign up with promo code ACTION, ACTION, to get Bet365's exclusive sign-up offer in New Jersey, Colorado, and Ohio. Bet $1 on any game, get $200. I love that idea. Let's take a look at the top of the Amex board on Bet365 this week. John Rahm, surprise, surprise, fresh off that victory at Kapalua for the Century Tournament of Champions 2 weeks ago. He is plus 600, followed by Patrick Cantlay, plus 1,000. Scotty Scheffler, the reigning PGA Tour Player of the Year, also plus 1,000. Tony Finau, he's been riding a heater ever since last summer. He is plus 1,400. Xander Schauffele, look, I'm never shocked by things that I see in golf, but I'm very, very surprised that Xander Schauffele has decided to tee it up less than 2 weeks after withdrawing with a back injury. We'll talk about that coming up. He's plus 2,000, as is Cameron Young, still searching for that first PGA Tour victory. He was close here last year for 3 days. Let's get right into it. As always, Roberto, our Action Network bosses, such nice people. They've given us $100 to bet this week. Let's start putting together our portfolios. Where are you going with your outright plays?
So this week, with the course being 3 courses in rotation for the American Express, I'm going to target some longer shot plays. We don't have data on all 3 of the tracks. We only have it for the stadium course. So I'm targeting players who are strong on approach in 3 specific yardages, under 100 yards, between 150 and 175 yards, and then also outside of 225 yards, because some of these par 5s are pretty long. I don't want my guys to be able to score there. So my first pick is Jason Day at plus 7,000. I'm betting $7 on him today because he has had success on Pete Dye courses throughout his career. He's got 3 wins, including 2015 PGA Championship, the WGC Dell Match Play, and also TPC Sawgrass, which is a direct comp to PGA West Stadium course. It's also a buy low spot on him, a guy who had some momentum after he recovered from his back injury and really started to progress with his iron play on approach in the fall. It's his first start since November at the RSM Classic, and I don't want to miss the train leaving the station on him in his first start this week. So I'm excited to see Jason Day, and hopefully he pulls through for me.
I will talk about Jason Day in just a little while on the show. He may have some announcements coming up very shortly. I'm not going to blow his cover on that, but some Jason Day news coming out very soon. I will give as my first outright Sahith Theegala at 50-1, putting $20 of my $100 portfolio on Sahith this week. And Roberto, I'm going to admit it because I'm an analytics guy. I look at the numbers, I look at the stats. The stats don't say anything about Sahith. In fact, last year, his rookie season, he was not top 50 in any major statistical category. Now, in the middle or at least early part of his second season on the PGA Tour, he is again not top 50 in any major statistical category. And yet, what I'm looking at is essentially the intangibles. I'm using the old eyeball test. It's probably not recommended most of the time. Don't go with your hunches over what the numbers tell you. And yet, I cannot get over the fact that Sahith Theegala continues to get himself in 3 of his last 7 starts on the PGA Tour. I just think the kid has a world of potential and knows how to close out golf tournaments, even though he hasn't quite shown it at this level yet. I'm still playing him to win. I still think 50-1. By the time the end of the season rolls around, that's going to be considered a really, really good number on Sahith. I want to buy before that number is not available any longer.
Jason, I love the play, and I've also bet on Sahith this week. And looking at his numbers on Data Golf right now, in his last 8 tournaments, he's had 4 tournaments where he was really poor on driving accuracy, and the other 4 where he was either just slightly below average or above average. 3 of those 4 times he finished in the top 6. So driving accuracy is the real one weakness for Tigala. And when he has that figured out, he can be dangerous. So I like the upside plays on him. Not necessarily the safest golfer in the field, but I love the upside. And then
Where are you going with your next one?
All right. So going with my next one, I'm going to go with Cam Davis at 50 to 1, putting $9 on him. Like Tigala, his weakness is driving accuracy. And if he keeps the ball out of the penalty areas, I think he'll thrive this week. With this being a P-dye course, it's pretty intimidating because sometimes you'll have a water hazard on one side of the hole where you say, all right, I can't go left because there's water. But then on the right side, there's a clump of trees or there is a huge bunker where you can't go there either. So you just got to man up and hit your shot sometimes. And you can't be thinking about where you can't go. You have to be focused on hitting your shot. And he's a guy who was 27th in birdie or better rate last year. And he's got really good course history. Take that for what you will, with there being 3 courses. I'm not weighing that as heavily this week, but I think he's a guy who has that upside potential. And if he keeps it out of the dangerous spots on this golf course on the tee, he'll be in a nice spot to capitalize.
Love everything about Cam Davis this year. I love everything about Cam Davis this week. I had one brief spot of trepidation on him, and that's that he was solo third place 2 years ago and then didn't tee it up last year. My podcast partner on the Links and Locks pod, Ben Everill, a fellow Australian like Cam Davis, mentioned to me he thinks that he had the flu or something last year, and that's why he didn't play, or maybe it just didn't fit in his schedule. But I'd always get a little fearful when a player that we think should play well didn't play the previous year. He said, nothing to worry about. All systems go on Cam Davis this week. He's a guy that I've played as well. All right, my next play, I know a lot of people don't think of this maybe so far in advance, at least for the non-major championships, but I have had Andrew Putnam targeted for the American Express for about 3 or 4 months. Yes, that's how long we look into these things. I've had him targeted. He's a guy that's finished between 10th and 34th in each of his last 5 starts here. I almost don't like the fact that he kind of peaked a little too early, finished in a share of 4th place last week. He was the #1 strokes gained putter at Waialae for the Sony Open. Again, I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. He might have used up all that good mojo, but you're going to have to make some putts this week. Every single winner has been 20 under or better since 2007. I'm banking on Andrew Putnam making some putts this week. And as Michael Waltrip, who talked about him on our radio show today, said, he's been putting them well. It's a terrible joke. That's why I attribute it to Waltrip, and I didn't take any credit or blame for it. But at 60 to 1, I'll play $20 on Andrew Putnam this week.
I like that play. And we know that John Rahm spoke about this tournament last year, complaining about how it was a putting contest. So you want to be strong on the greens. Similarly, I'm going to play Taylor Pendrith. He's at 100 to 1 this week, and I think he's just got more upside than that number would imply. He's extremely long and solid on approach as well. And like Jason Day, he also hasn't played since the RSM Classic, and he runs hot and cold. He was really cold at the beginning of the year last year, and then he had that injury, but then he came back and he had that streak of tournaments where he didn't finish any worse than a tie for 13th. Hopefully, this is the beginning of another run this week, and I'm going to take a shot at him at an extremely long number.
I love Pendrith this week too. You and I are in concert on most of these outright plays. Pendrith's the guy that I wrote up in my preview this week at the Action Network. I think I had him for a top 10, but certainly I can see even more of an upside this week. So let's talk about these golf courses. The American Express, as you mentioned, Roberto, it's played on a 3-course rotation. The host venue is PGA West Stadium course. They'll also play Sunday's final round on that one. You also see the Nicklaus Tournament course and La Quinta, which is traditionally the easiest of the 3 courses. If you have a book that, and we'll talk about first round leader bets in a little bit, a book that puts all the players together for one first round leader, you'll want to target and hammer guys who are playing La Quinta. And as I mentioned earlier, no winner since 2007 has failed to break 20 under. Expect plenty of circles and red numbers on the scorecards this week. You know, Bet365, our sponsor, offers player market bets based on finishing position for the week. Let's buy, let's sell. We'll get to our buys first. Who are you buying, Roberto?
So this week, I'm going to buy KH Lee 40th place or better at $17 minus 120. Last year, when he played here, at only the PGA West Stadium, of course, because that's the only one where we have data. He was third in strokes gained approach. However, he was fourth worst in strokes gained off the tee. So he found a lot of those hazards and penalty areas you can't put yourself in. But he's in better form this week. He gained strokes on approach, around the green, and on the greens in each of his last 3 track tournaments. He's also got a tie for 7th at the Century Tournament of Champions 2 weeks ago, and also a tie for 28th at the Sony Open last week. So he's in good form. He should suit this track if his driver cooperates. And in 40th or better, we've got a little bit of leeway there for me.
Look, there are a ton of players to buy. In fact, we're going to talk about our sells in a minute. I thought it was very hard to find players to sell based on the finishing positions. They all look pretty good. I'm going with a player that you mentioned already. Look, Roberto, you like Jason Day for an outright this week. So I'm guessing you probably like him for a top 50. He is 50th or better, minus 120. I'm putting $20 in my portfolio on that as well. Look, Jason Day finished 21st or better in 4 of his last 5 starts of the 2022 calendar year. Granted, his first start of the year, never know quite what to expect, but I do expect good things. Chris Como, his new coach, was on Gravy and the Sleeves on PGA Tour Radio, Sirius XM, just a couple days ago, and he had some very good things to say about not only J-Day's swing right now, but his health. All systems go for him, so I like that. Did you find anyone to sell? I know this was tough.
I did, and I really like my sell. I'm selling Will Zalatoris, 24th or worse. And I am a huge Willie Z fan. He's one of my favorite players on the tour. And he's a player that I like to target more so on tough tournaments where scoring isn't going to be very low. And he can really use his incredible driving distance off the tee and his awesome play on approach to a bigger advantage. But this week, with putting being a heightened factor, I don't love Will Zalatoris. And also, this is just his second tournament after coming back from a back injury, which he suffered in August last year. So there's some cause for concern there. And like we said, he's awesome on approach. Last season in 20 track tournaments on tour, he only lost strokes on approach 1 time. And this year in 1 tournament, the Century Tournament of Champions, he lost strokes on approach. And he had a pretty hot putter that week. So the greens there and the greens this week are very different. And if that putter's not hot and he's not sizzling on approach like he normally is, it's tough to beat 120 players in a field, especially when you've got 6-hour pro-am rounds going on and you're frustrated. So I'm going to play him 24th or worse. I went 2-0 on my plays fading guys last week, so hopefully we can keep it rolling.
All right. Look, I'm going to tell you guys who are watching, like when I love a pick, I'll tell you I love a pick. When I got to find a pick to sell. I don't love the pick. I'm only putting $5 of my portfolio on it. I'm selling Tom Kim. I don't know if I like it. I don't want to ever sell Tom Kim. He's just that good, but coming off a miscut last week, the putter looked horrible at Waialae. I don't know that that's going to continue. Look, there's high variance here, and he can figure something out with the putter over these couple of days moving into the tournament and putt really well like he normally does. But for 26th or worse, minus 120, again, you start looking at the numbers they have on Bet365, it's really hard to find someone that you're taking to finish worse than they have them. I'm going with Tom Kim. Again, no need to tell all the bets. You know what? If you don't like it, that's okay. I'm not sure I like it myself, but I had to find a sell. I sold Tom Kim. All right, let's take a look at the market info so far this week. Highest ticket percentage in the marketplace. Cam Davis. Smart bettors out there on Cam Davis this week. Roberto, that might all be me and you, but I think there's some other bettors on him as well. Taylor Montgomery, I haven't talked about him, but if this indeed turns into a putting contest, the rookie has been putting about as well as anybody. And Sahith Theegala, that one was all my money on Sahith, although you have some Sahith too. So maybe this is just highest ticket percentage amongst the two of us, but I'm pretty sure it's the entire public. So people are essentially paying attention to our stuff. Highest handle, Davis again, Montgomery again, Tom Kim, and then liabilities, Davis, Montgomery, and Theegala. So a lot of people thinking a lot of the same ways that you and I are thinking. All right, let's see if they're on the same page with our props and maybe matchups for this week. Where are you going with your first prop of the week?
So for my first prop, I'm going to play Carl Yuan top 40 plus 175. You can also find him top 20 at over 4-1. But I really like Carl Yuan. He's someone I'm bullish on. Last year, he led the Korn Ferry Tour points list, and he had a win and 2 solo second place finishes on the Korn Ferry Tour last year. if you ever got some spare time, take a look at his swing on YouTube. It's pretty funny, and he's a guy who has some weird tendencies where he practices shanking the ball, and I don't necessarily recommend trying that at home or on the range. But he's a potentially elite player on approach who started off his rookie year slowly with 3 consecutive missed cuts. But since then, he's kind of found his footing. He's got 3 consecutive top 39 finishes, albeit at some lesser fields relatively. But he did have his best showing of his PGA Tour career last week with a tie for 21st at Sony Open. And I believe he got either into a tie for the lead or was a stroke back at some point on Saturday as well. So hopefully he's a little bit more comfortable in the spotlight. And I like him this week on a course where he can really utilize his insane driving distance.
You and I might as well just pool our money together this week because we're on the same page with pretty much everything. I am absolutely being honest with you right now. My top 40 play was between either Yuan or this player. In my preview this week, I was going with one of them for top 40, the other one for my low price DFS guy. I went Yuan for low price DFS. It's one and the same. I mean, really could have gone either way. Instead, I will go with Beau Hossler for my top 40 play this week at plus 230. Beau doesn't have a great record here. He does have 120th place finish, but also has 3 missed cuts and 4 career starts. What do I like about him? It's the flat stick. We told you you're going to have to make birdies here. He was 5th on the PGA Tour in putting last year already in the early part of this year. He is 18th, and he's a guy that has matured. I think he's matured in a lot of ways. Remember, Beau Hossler nearly won. He contended at the 2012 U.S. Open as a high school junior. I think things on the professional level haven't quite come as easy as maybe he thought or hoped they would be. And so what he's had to do over the last couple of years is change his swing, change his body type. He's much leaner now. He looks like he's ready to go contend and win some golf tournaments. Looks like a guy that is finally going to fulfill that large potential that he had coming out of the University of Texas. So again, conservative play, top 40, but at plus money, pretty good plus money, plus 230. I do like him this week. What's your next one?
Yeah, I'm a big Beau Hossler fan. Hopefully the drives to Texas are upon him over there in Palm Springs this week. I'm going to go with Alex Smalley plus 230 for a top 30. Playing this for $23. And he had a respectable tie for 25th finish last year at the American Express, despite underachieving on approach. He's normally pretty strong there. And he's got some momentum. He's got 6 top 16 finishes in his last 14 starts. If you don't like the number for your book on top 30 or you don't have access to it there, you can also get him top 20. I like that too. I think he's a guy that I'm just higher on than the market in general, and I like him from week to week, and I like him this week.
All right, I'm going with a matchup here. Nick Taylor is a guy that played really well last week, sheriff 7th place. I spent some time with him in Palm Desert a couple years ago, emceed an event that he and Ernie Els were at. And I always just think of Nick when this event rolls around because of that. But the guy's an underrated player, works very hard on his game. And like I said, coming off last week, he's won on the West Coast, won at Pebble Beach a few years ago, taking him in the matchup over Brendan Todd. Brendan Todd is a guy who can play really solid golf, but really he's a course horse. He's a guy that, like last week at YLA, like an RSM Classic, some of the shorter courses on the PGA Tour, okay, I'll look for Brendan Todd. This isn't really one of these weeks. This is a week where you can sort of unleash with the driver a little bit. That's not his game. Not that Nick Taylor is Carl Yuan off the tee, but he can still bang it out there a little bit further than Brendan Todd. So I'll take Taylor in that matchup this week. I believe he's even money, maybe even plus money, just a little bit. So let's get to our first round leader bets. And as I alluded to earlier, these are a little tricky this week. Some books won't list them with 3 courses available. I've seen that in some major books that they don't even have it available. Other books, they might put them all together, which if you see that, hammer the La Quinta guys, traditionally the easiest of the 3 courses. You've also got John Rahm, Patrick Cantlay, Tony Finau, Scotty Scheffler, all starting at La Quinta. So some of the big guys can go low in a hurry. And then many will separate them as 3 different bets, 3 different wagering opportunities. We're going to do that for the sake of the show here. Roberto, give me one player on one course that you like this week for FRL.
So I'm playing Davis Riley to win the tournament outright, but I also have him for first round leader. And I found him in a market where they include all 3 courses in one first round leader market. And he's 80-1 on this market. So I like him there for $5. He runs hot and cold, but like some of my other plays, he hasn't played since the RSM Classic in November. He is very long off the tee, and he doesn't have any huge weaknesses in his game. So if he gets hot with the putter and is solid on approach this week. I can see him getting really close to the top of the leaderboard, if not winning this tournament. And we know he can score because he was 18th in birdie or better rate last year.
I like that. Davis Riley's got a massive future and a ton of potential. Hopefully it starts this week. All right, can tell you a little story here before I get to my pick. Last week on the show, I didn't list him, but I did have S.H. Kim for first round leader in my preview at the Action Network, actionnetwork.com. And the reason I got off of my write the preview before the tee times are out, I was looking for a guy with a morning tee time. He was in the afternoon wave, but I still played him. Okay, well, if you tailed along and you were playing S.H. Kim, first round leader last week, hey, really nice start. 5 under through 16 holes when the leaders are at 6 under, a 3-way tie in the clubhouse already. And then they're suspended for darkness. Okay, well, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Come back on some fresh greens Friday morning, maybe make a couple of birdies. Eagle possibility on the 18th hole. All right, 17, tough par 3. He makes par. I'm okay with that. Let's go with birdie at the least on the last, and maybe even eagle to get a full share of the first round lead. Well, what does he do? Drives it a little bit right of the fairway. That's okay. Hits a second shot into the left greenside bunker. Not what we wanted. Splashes one out, nearly holes it out for eagle to go 7 under, grab the lead. Instead, okay, winds up 5 feet away. All right, cool. Take a 4-way chop. Except y'all know how this story ends. S.H. Kim misses the bunny from 5 feet away. We all walk around with the memories, but not with the cash. You know what I'm doing this week? I'm going right back to S.H. Kim. He's playing on the Nicklaus tournament course. I wouldn't play him if you've got everybody listed together, but if your book separates based on the course, take him at the Nicklaus. All right, before we go real quick, Roberto, one and done picks for this week. Where are you going?
I'm going Brian Harman with only 40 or so tournaments in one and done to go with. Not going to use one of the elite players this week, but Brian Harman, horse for the course, got a lot of great experience around here. I think he's got a really high floor. Trying to cash some money this week.
I'm going to go to Andrew Putnam. I was in a season-long fantasy draft a couple of weeks ago that Rick Gaiman from Rick Rungood was running with a bunch of industry insider types, and I drafted him in the mid-round, 7th, 8th round, and I prefaced the pick by saying, I will take 2023 American Express champion Andrew Putnam. I can't go away from it. Once I'm all in, I'm over invested on Putnam this week. Here's hoping the mustache plays well once again. All right, let's get to our portfolio recaps. Roberto, you've got Jason Day, Cam Davis, Taylor Pendrith outrights, buying KH Lee, selling Will Zalatoris, props on Carl Yuan and Alex Smalley, and first round leader Davis Riley. I've got Sahith Theegala and surprise, Andrew Putnam. For my outrights, I'm buying Jason Day, selling Tom Kim, prop on Bo Hostler, Nick Taylor in a matchup over Brendan Todd, and first round leader. Come on, SH. Don't do it to me again. All right. Before we go, one non-golf bet for the week. Roberto, what you got?
I'm going to go with the Jacksonville Jaguars to cover against the Chiefs this week. A lot of points. The Chiefs, I think, are a little bit overvalued, and the Jags getting a lot of points. And like Brandon Anderson, our NFL analyst this week, pointed out, teams that didn't make the playoffs last year in divisional rounds have been very successful historically against the spread.
I like it. I said non-golf bet. I meant non-PGA Tour bet because I'm here at the LPGA season opener. I'm going to go with Danielle Kang. Spoke with her a little bit earlier today. Had Alfonso Ribeiro on the radio show. He's playing with her in the Celebrity Pro-Am. And so he had some very good things to say. They're going to have a good time. And I look for Danielle Kang, the defending champion, to go back-to-back. Remember, for more smart betting advice on other sports, Green Dot Daily, every day, noon Eastern time, on your favorite Action Network platform. Thanks to everybody out there for watching this episode of The Gimme presented by Bet365. For more American Express coverage, go to actionnetwork.com, the Action Network app, and find all our written coverage. We'll have it throughout the entire week as well. For Roberto Arguello, I'm Jason Sobel. Good luck with all of your bets for this week's American Express. Here's hoping you guys hit the green.